everybody. Welcome back to the Cyber Revolution podcast. Thanks for joining us yet again. I'm Adam Hewitt, the CEO of Cyber Revolution, and today I'm joined by a superstar student of ours, Tarnpreet Kirk. Tarn, how are you?
Good, Adam. How about yourself?
Very well, very well. We were just talking about off-air how busy we both are. We're coming off a long Easter break, and whilst the break's always good, like a long extended weekend, it always makes for a really busy, short 4-day work week. So I'm extremely busy, and we were just talking about how busy you are as well.
Yeah. Holidays are just a myth. They make you work harder when you come back.
You don't say that whilst on holiday. It's only after the holidays you say that. I appreciate your time because I know it's valuable, and I know that you're extremely busy in the new role that you've just landed, which is why we've got you on the podcast to talk a little bit about that. Before we get into all that, though, I want to give our new listeners of the podcast, if you are a first-time listener, thanks for joining, a bit of an overview of who this podcast is for and who Cyber Revolution are. So Cyber Revolution, we are Australia's only dedicated cybersecurity training and placement institute. We specialize in helping people find their first entry-level cybersecurity role. And who this podcast is for exactly that. Somebody who is looking to potentially change careers. They're interested in this thing called cybersecurity. They might have been hacked previously. They've got a friend in the industry. We all know over the last 2 years, it's been a bit of a mega trend, but it does come with its misconceptions. A lot of people still think you need to be programming, coding, hacking expert to get into this space with multiple degrees. It's obviously not the case. So the point of this podcast is to break down the barriers and misconceptions of the industry, have people on who have changed careers, tell their story, and are now in the industry, and really just educate people on what an amazing industry cybersecurity is. So if that resonates, if it sounds interesting, then this is the podcast for you. Tan, let's start it, mate. Let's get into it. So let's go from the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us more so what you were doing for work before you decided to change careers.
So I studied engineering, which I graduated in 2019, and I studied a bit of project management. Post that, I was working for Woolworths, but it's not so much like a traditional side. It's more like the online side of it. So as soon as every graduate does, they graduate and start looking for a job in their field. That's what I was about to do, but they offered me a promotion. So they just I will give you more money, you stay here. So I started doing that for a little while.
Yep.
But I don't know, for some reason, I did that for 3 years, earned a good amount of money, but just life just got too monotonous.
Yep.
You do the same thing every day and there's no growth. There's no challenge because the longer you stay in the role, the more you know about it and it's more muscle memory. Okay. So it's just it kind of stagnated for a while. So I was looking for something to do. My options were law or technology because I hated them both. So I researched a lot about law, but it was commitment that I was willing to do, but for as long you have to study for, and especially given I've already done 1 degree in engineering, I didn't think it was too practical for me to get into another 5, 6, 7 years of doing another degree. So I shifted towards technology. Then I was just going through the internet saying what I can do, be a programmer, be a software engineer. And all of a sudden I saw, surprise, surprise, Adam. big old smile telling me how I can get into IT.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was intrigued because given my role, it was I was happy with the money that I was making, but I wasn't really satisfied with what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because I was getting up in the morning and be okay, we're going to learn something new today. That wasn't happening. So obviously, I reached out and then the journey started from there. So yeah, the main reason why I looked for something was just a bit of growth, just a bit of challenge.
Interesting. Okay. And this is why I love having people on because everyone's reason is a little bit different. It can be purely financial. It can be fulfillment. For you, what I picked up there is you like a challenge. You like kind of constantly being challenged.
I like to challenge it just because it gets too boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing over and over again.
Have you always been like that?
Not really. I think it's an age thing because you see everybody else push what they're doing. It's just you feel kind of left out because everyone's trying to push their boundaries and trying to do something more. Doesn't matter where they are on the ladder. They're always trying to achieve for the next thing. And you see yourself I'm there, but I'm not really it's just because you got one life. So you might as well just do different things.
Yeah.
I'll just keep doing, unless you found your passion at a very early age and you following it through. Great for you. But the bunch of population, we're still trying to figure out what exactly it is we like. And if you're in that category, you might as well explore.
I couldn't agree more. And I think over the years, like probably the past 15, 10, 5 years, definitely, a career change is a lot more common. Whereas the old school approach of, our parents was you go to school, you get a job, and that is your career that's your life for the next 30, 40 years. And a career change just seems, like it's completely not even on the cards. Okay, so you were in a big corporate role, working at Woolworths, decided that it wasn't going to be the long-term career play for you. You weren't challenged. You mentioned before you're looking at either law or tech, and then my face popped up. What was it that resonated to you to go, hey, I'm going to chase these things, cybersecurity? Was it like the challenge? Had you been hacked previously? Was it the Optus or Medibank attacks, anything like that?
To be honest, no. My bigger thing was I wanted to get into something, but see, as you were saying, traditional way is you go to school, you go to college, what do you study? You look for a job, and then you do it. But with technology, everything is just open source. Like your reach has just multiplied by 1,000,000 times. Like you can do anything you want wherever you are. I was stuck with the fact that call it a sales pitch, call it advertisement, call it selling cyber revolution was the timeline. Like you can get into it and the barrier to entry is not that high. Which made me go, if I can try and get into it, I can learn more and I can grow more. As compared to other industries where the barrier to entry is really high. So you're just working and grinding just to get in. But the real struggle happens, or the real growth rather happens once you get into the industry. Yes. So I just went, okay, 6 to 8 a year, you can get in and then you can learn because it's a never ending process.
Yeah.
You never go, I'll study 6 to 8 months and then boom, I don't have to study for the rest of my life.
So now I'm understanding why you chose cybersecurity over law, because law is the complete opposite. I've got friends that are lawyers and they've 4 or 5 years, and then they're like, okay, I've got like another 10, 15 years of absolute grind and hustle before I potentially make it up to that kind of partner level, right? Whereas the opposite, the rapid growth that you can get within that career is really, really accessible. Okay, cool, Matt. And on that note, tell us a little bit about the role that you've landed.
So currently I work at IT services as an agent with Combank. Part of the reason because I got my certs, they were like, yeah, you at least have some relevant information on how a computer operates.
Yeah.
We can definitely get you in. And then, so this is just the beginning. It's like the first role that is connected to technology I've ever landed. And from now on, it's just a little grind every day, just the consistency, And eventually you'll get where you want to get.
Yeah, that learning curve is going to be massive for you for the next couple of years, I think. Okay, so big organization, Combank, like one of the biggest in Australia, right? So how was that process? You mentioned that they recognized you had your CompTIA certifications, which helped you land a job. Can you give us some insight into that recruitment process of such a large company?
Yeah, definitely. Again, super corporate because it's a large organization. They want to make sure the people that they get in are the right people and the people who are going to stay around for a while. So they was obviously looking for people who had IT backgrounds, either a bachelor's degree or diplomas or certificates. Even though cybersecurity cert does not really fit into that field, but they're very related to it, which got me an interview initially. And then it's just the knowledge, especially because I didn't have any prior IT knowledge. Whatever I've learned is through all the certs that I've done. And you learn a lot more than you realize when you study. Like, especially when you're doing something new, your learning curve is literally that.
Yeah.
Because you click on something and then you're like, oh my God, this thing exists. I want to learn about it. And you're in like a rabbit hole of like learning about that thing. 2 hours later, you realize, oh my God, I have to do the next topic. It's like a YouTube search. You go to Dashcam Australia and you're watching the videos for like 3 hours without realizing, oh my God, I lost track of time. I have other stuff to do. So so like it gave me a lot of understanding of how networks work, how technology works, how to have like roles and privileges assigned to users, stuff like that. So it's just come naturally to you once you've been in for a little while. So during the interview, obviously that side of things showed, and they're like, yeah, he's got good understanding of how the whole system of IT actually operates. And that's good enough for somebody to land into an IT services role.
Right. I'm interested because I'll preface to everybody listening, Commonwealth Bank are not a placement partner of ours. Tarnpreet got on the front foot and whilst he was studying, applied for this role off his own bat and his own accord and landed it. So he was one of the lucky students that whilst studying with us, landed a job and continuously studies whilst working in the industry. And I'm always interested to hear, because every organization is different, big or small. Some companies' recruitment process is, all right, we know that you're an entry-level person, you've got the skills and you've got the certifications, but we need to understand whether you're going to be a good cultural fit. So they don't ask any technical questions at all in the interview process, but some do. So it's a real mix and match. And so it just goes to show how crucial these certifications and the training are. So if you get into an interview and you don't know this technical stuff, you're not going to get the job. Like you wouldn't have landed the role at CommBank if you didn't have your CompTIA certs, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would have never went past the HR process. Yeah, because that's the first gate that you have to open for yourself. And if a HR can't see any relevant understanding or any certifications or any study at all, it's a little harder for you to get through. So like having those certs on your resume obviously is a great starting point.
Correct.
To get the job, it's you, it's not the certs, but to get the interview, it's the certs.
Yes.
More than you.
Yes, that's what I tell the students all the time. And it's interesting, a point for everyone listening, whether you're a student or not, a big organization like a CommBank would have a software screening process where they'll identify, it's not going to be an individual going through all of the resumes. They'll be able to screen and see your resume. And if you don't have any relevant certifications, you'll be screened out of that process and you won't even. It's really, really important to have updated your resumes and have those certificates on there for anybody who's applying at the moment. Okay, great. You came across us, you saw me on a Facebook or Instagram, and then you went through, talked to the team, joined. Why did you decide to join Cyber Revolution over all of the other training providers?
It's not what you have, it's how you sell it. Being not from the industry, I didn't really know what Security Plus meant, what Network Plus meant. Like for me, everyone was the same. But I spoke to somebody who was kind to me, who told me what the process is going to be, who actually put a bit of light on the steps that I was going to walk. And then for me, I'm a kind of person, it's if you want to do something, you're never going to have the right time to do it and you just have to do it. Yep. So I think I found the right people at the right time and I just didn't want to procrastinate. I'm like, okay, we'll just go through with it.
Yeah, amazing. That was Mr. Josh Lyons that you spoke to as well. I think it might have all those many, many months ago. On to your studies. You've been studying now and completing your certifications. I actually spoke to Catherine, it was a little while ago now when she heard you were coming on to the podcast. She's your student success officer. We kind of talk about why we think and why she specifically thought you were successful. Why do you think you've been so successful in being able to land a role and also go through your studies? Because you said to me, I'll just jump in it. You said to me when we spoke off air, like I think it was a week ago, that you were like, I can't believe I've got these certifications. Like it's completely.
Yeah. I think it's just like a common emotion with like people who are trying to get into something new to like have self-doubt. Because like even when I'm giving that exam after all the study period I've done, after all the practice exams I've done, I still have that thought of like, I've never actually like really, really studied this. Yeah. But I'm still doing it. Like that self-doubt always stays there. I think the only reason I was able to push through it was I had this little code on my wall where I used to study, and it said long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity.
Love it.
So you just keep chipping away a little by little. So I made a promise, like while I was studying a month and a half, whenever I'm going to give the exam, there wouldn't be a day that I wouldn't study. There would be days where I study for 10 minutes.
Yep.
But there wouldn't be a day where I wouldn't study. So you always go a little bit, and eventually you feel confident enough. And a secret to anyone who's going to do any of the CompTIA certs is, I saw this video and it works so well. If you read the question and you think about what the person who read the question was thinking and why did he choose those words, that would lead you to the answer. Not every question, but I'll say 80% of the questions. Like the answer is in the question. Think why he chose those specific words.
That's a good insight for somebody who's just smashed their exams. For all the students that are listening, you're about to sit your exam. Listen to what Tarnpreet is telling you. He's walked the walk as well. I love that saying, by the way, and that applies to everything. I'm assuming you just keep that up in the room at all times.
Well, I've changed my places now, but I'll bring it in. I've got a little curtain in front of me, so it's probably like more driving because it'll keep waving in the air. It's like, well, look at me, look at me.
Oh, that's cool, man. I think that's one of my philosophies in life as well. Consistency is key. As long as you're moving forward and getting better each day, then that's the most important thing.
Everything. I go to the gym and I see people. Sorry to cut you off. I go to the gym. I see people. They come in for like a week. It's like, I've been here for a week. Where are my biceps?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not how it works. Like when you go and learn swimming, you don't get swimming until lessons.
Exactly.
Unless it's Cyber Revolution, but
Not quite. No, we're not that good. Not yet. But you're right. Consistency key. Keep showing up to your sessions. Like even if I get it, not everyone is going to be able to study every day. Our students, everyone's situation is different. But we have students sometimes that don't study for a week or two. They can't. They're working full time. They've got kids. We understand life is busy. If you can't study for that week, that's fine. But still find the 15 minutes to catch up with your student support officer to at least go, hey, Catherine, or whoever it is, I couldn't study this week, but I just want to catch up, have a chat about how I'm feeling, put a plan together for next week if that's okay. Like, did you find those catch-ups with Catherine really, really useful for you?
Yeah. It's just something to keep yourself in line. Like you need to have self-discipline within yourself if you're trying to achieve something. But if you lack a little bit of that, those sessions really come in handy because you have those checkpoints. Okay, I was sitting at that stage last week. What I've worked on in that week. If I wasn't able to, let me just reflect on why I couldn't do it and what the situations are going to be in the future. And you have a person you can discuss it with. So those officers is there to just walk you through. Sometimes you already know what you have to do. And you want to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah, a little bit of affirmation is good.
Definitely.
Okay, great. And so you mentioned before, and you've kind of already answered this question, but I want to learn maybe a little bit more about how you overcame it. You came into our program with zero prior IT knowledge, experience, certifications. You mentioned before, I'm assuming you were nervous, you had self-doubt about having to learn these new skills and get the outcome. What helped you overcome that and actually take that leap of faith to do it?
Like in terms of how to overcome self-doubt?
Yeah, and lean into it and do the program because everybody has doubt. I just spoke to a reasonably new student and he was having some serious self-doubts about whether he can do it. He's only been a week or so in the program and that's normal, right? And for me, I was trying to tell him, we're doing this to change your current situation. Change is really uncomfortable. He wants to be able to earn more money for his family. What's scarier? Making that change or staying in the current situation that you're in?
The way I'll put it out there is if you knew what you had to do, you would already be doing it by now. The reason why you're in this situation is because you're not sure what you have to do. So if you're already here and if you're already taken the first step, you might as well just give it a good bash because you don't have an alternate path to follow. Because any path you're going to go to, you're going to start from zero again, and it will take same amount of effort because you don't know what you want to do. So if you're already here, you give it a good bash, stay consistent. It's going to be hard for the first week, first month. Eventually, you're just going to get into the habit. It's scary because I don't know what your current situation is, but I'm not talking to you, Adam, like the people are going to listen to. But if you open like the lectures and the practice notes and nothing makes sense to you, it's only scary at that point in time. Once you start picking up a little, like, you know how you have a puzzle and you got little pieces and it's very scary in the beginning because it's a jigsaw. It's like too much going on. But as you start putting the pieces in place, it starts to make a little bit of sense. And then you can kind of tell where each piece will go. Cybersecurity is exactly the same. You don't have to learn programming. Trust me, it's a little harder than what people tell you it is who are selling it to you. But cybersecurity is a lot easier than that. And you have so much resources. Anything you don't understand, I also apply this. Anything I didn't understand, any terminologies, any processes, I'll go on YouTube straight away, have some visuals in my mind, and I'll write it down. So I'll watch a video and I'll write down the dot points. Writing is more important than watching the video. What video will do is it will explain what you don't really know. And when you write it down, it'll make it clear and it'll stick for you longer. Self-doubt only stays until you're super new to it. Once you start getting into it, self-doubt will be reduced. It'll never be removed.
I love that analogy of the puzzle. I'm going to steal that, because if you look at a puzzle and there's thousands of small pieces and you just look at, I've got to get to this outcome, which is the finished product, you're overwhelmed. You're like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just go, cool, I'm just going to start by this corner here, and I'm going to start the borders, and I'm going to work my way in and chip away at it. And also use the analogy of going to the gym, right? Like, it's consistency. And at the start, you got to get up early. You saw the next day. But if you're consistent, you keep doing it, you build up muscle memory. It's the same as anything. And it's the same as our, jumping through our placement program as well.
Somebody told me, sorry to cut you off again. I'm doing it all over. Oh, this is the last podcast you're going to call me on. Not kidding. So somebody told me it's because you try to achieve something, you can't be too focused on the result, and you have to fall in love with the process.
Yep.
The result will come with it. But the problem is people do the process in hope of getting to the result, which is true, but you can't be focusing on the result itself because you never get there. It's like when you're climbing a hill. It looks is right there, but it's a lot of work that takes. So you have to love walking.
Yeah.
Little by little. Like, have fun. It's a process you're doing.
Yeah.
All been through COVID, and we know how hard it is to not do anything. So we should just appreciate having a task in front of you.
I feel like this is being more of it. And I love it, by the way, like in the analogies that we're using here, we're talking more about self-doubt and, like, I guess, psychology, which is really important. And we don't actually talk about this much in the podcast. And I really appreciate you kind of sharing your wisdom in this, because what you're saying is going to resonate every single person that listens to this. And especially if you're in our program at the moment, because everyone has self-doubt and it's hard to overcome. And so appreciate it, mate. I really do. We could talk about it, go back and forth all night, but one at a time. I'm going to ask you to share some more wisdom for the final question. And that is around some top tips. I always ask the students these questions who I have on the show, and it is your 3 top tips for somebody who, let's talk about self-doubt again one more time. I want you to give 3 top tips for somebody who is thinking about changing careers. They know potentially it's the right fit for them. They have to make a change, but they're letting something, that fear, kind of hold them back. What would be your 3 top tips for that person?
And that's with a presumption like they've already got in contact with Cyber Revolution and they've taken the first step.
Maybe not. They might even just maybe
not. Yes,
this podcast for the first time.
Just a pretense, because you're trying to change careers. That comes with the assumption that you're not really satisfied with where you are, which is why you want to change your careers. So, like, the first step is just going to be evaluating what you like and what you don't like, because obviously you want to do something that you're into. Like, for myself, it was a challenge. Because I've never done anything IT, I would rather do something that I've never done before. But for a different person, it might be, I want to do something I'm familiar with, but a little bit different. I'm a nurse. I like technology. I watch it all the time. I'm so taken away by the people who sit on a computer for 8 hours and make $1 million. I want to be that person. It could be that drives you. So if you narrow down your options, tip number 1 is pick where you want to go and keep your options open. Another thing why you like cybersecurity is because there's so many different roles. Mm-hmm. You could be somebody who just likes compliance, and you could be a GRC agent. You're somebody who likes protecting stuff. You could be a cybersecurity analyst. You like testing security. You could be a pen tester. Yep. Like, you can pick one that resonates with your personality. So this is always good to have options open. So tip number 1 is just narrow your options down and then see what you really want to do, and then you take the first step. Number 2 is find the resources and have a little plan in your mind on what you're going to do to get where you want to go. Because other people can only guide the path. You're the only one who knows where you want to go. Mm-hmm. So always, like, align yourself with people. Like, people at Cyber Revolution, if you want a cybersecurity role, that is not your life. Like, your life doesn't end when you land the role. It's just a little path, but you have people here who can guide you to that path. So know what you want to do, and then find people and resources that'll take you there. And the last one is self-discipline. It's very hard to do. This is another tip I'll say. When you want to do something, don't make it too hard for yourself. It's whatever you're doing. If I'm doing 10% today, I don't want to plan to do 50% tomorrow because I'm feeling motivated in the morning. I only want to go to 12 or 13% because I want to get to the change, but I want to change a little by little. So it's easier for me to get into it. So those would be 3 tips.
Love it. Love it, man. I love it. This one is essentially around simplifying things. And I was just having a chat to a student earlier today as well. and he's like, oh, I've been halfway through the course. I'm now starting to have some doubts around the role that I'm going to land. Like, it wasn't even like doubt around whether I will land a job or not. It's like, when I get into the job, am I even going to like the cybersecurity industry? When I'm if I get into a GRC consulting role, what if I'm more technical focused? And it was getting really caught up in all of these nitty gritty details that you have absolutely no control about. And I go, hey, we're not going to know until we're into that. And they're future problems. They're good future problems that we said that it's going to be a good solution and a good outcome for us. Let's simplify this. Just focus on what's in front of you now, doing your certifications. Happy for you to have more conversations with our career consultants around what roles might suit you best.
Yeah.
Until you're in it. Also, simplify your problems right now and just focus on getting your next certification. I think that's
which is where the path comes into play. Because if you have those checkpoints, like my next goal is to get this cert, my next goal is to do this practice test. So if you just focus on that and you keep grinding, you should have questions about what you're going to do after. But you can't be giving 70% of your brain capacity of what I'm going to do in 2035, and you only have 30% brain capacity of what you have to do in the next month.
Amazing, man. I mean, we're gone a little bit over time here, but I talk more and more about this stuff. I really, really appreciate you taking time out of I know you're incredibly busy at the moment, but I do. And I think a lot of our listeners are going to get a bunch of value out of it. So appreciate your time, Tarn.
That's okay. If I can help a single person, I've done my job. But yeah, if you don't like anything that I said, but just to focus on what I said about the exams, I'm telling you, it's the secret sauce.
Love it. Yeah, our students will take that away and they'll for sure. And so what I want to do, man, this is the first time you've ever done a podcast. You're an absolute natural. I'm going to be getting you on, whether you like it or not, again in another 12 months. And
yeah, okay, fair enough.
We can talk about more so around a day in the life, because I wanted to get you on to more so tell your story. And I didn't really have much of a, structure of how this conversation was going to go. It's more of a fluid conversation than a structured podcast. But we didn't get too much into detail around your day-to-day, what you're doing, how you work, which is all good. Maybe in 12 months' time, we can catch up again and we can talk more about a day in the life of
Yeah, that definitely sounds good, Adam.
Good. Thanks, Tarn. All right, everyone listening, thank you for listening. If you did get some value out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, keep the reviews up. We're loving seeing some of the reviews and comments coming through. If you want to know a bit more about the job placement program that Tarnpreet has gone through, just head to cyberrevolution.com.au. You can leave your details there and someone from the team will reach out. Thanks for listening.